Hi everyone, this is Ziaul Raushan joining you on the Final Whistle Pitchside, a brand new offering from the Final Whistle. Well, I say brand new, it's back to basics really. The Final Whistle started out with a mission to bring footballers closer to the fans, and we're going to do just that on the Final Whistle Pitchside. Now, if you or don't already know, we are on Telegram, so keep the conversation going on Telegram and do subscribe to us on Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube. Enough about the housekeeping. Now, on to the guests we have lined up. Some of us, well, all of us dream of becoming professional footballers, don't we? Some of us go on to achieve that recreationally. Some of us become professional footballers, but some of us lose our way slightly and go on to pursue other things. Our guest today went on to achieve that dream very, very recently of becoming a professional footballer, but not before it took him from Singapore to Canada and back to Singapore. Joining me on the call is Faisal Shahril from Geylang International. Faisal, great to have you with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you so much for joining the call, Faisal. Now, first things first, how good does it be? How good does it feel to be a Singapore Premier League footballer?
So it's a dream come true. Is what I really, really worked hard for, and I think I'm reaping the rewards of becoming a professional footballer. I went to Sabah for preseason and playing in front of a crowd, um, a huge crowd, like 7 to 8 thousand, just made me reflect on how much I've worked hard for, and it's an amazing feeling, to experience like what a professional footballer like actually feels during the games. So yeah, just truly surreal. Kind of hard to believe, but yeah, I'm here and I'm just trying to enjoy it.
Now, Faisal, we know your journey has not been a straightforward one. So let's start at the very beginning. Tell us about your childhood and then take me through how you ended up in Canada for the listeners.
Yeah, so I mean, actually, I didn't grow up in Singapore. Actually, I had to move around to like many different countries, like every 2 to 3 years, and I think the football really started when, no, actually, before football, like I actually played basketball. That was my first sport, in the US.
Wow.
And then, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I tried playing football over there, but it just didn't click. Like I remember going to the field, just bounced off my feet. I was like, not interested, no. So I went to India, and that's where it all started. Like everyone was just crazy about football. And in school, like during the breaks, we used to play football in this tent every recess, every lunch break. And my first day, I went to this tent, saw everyone play. I just saw how like immersed everyone was into the sport, and I sort of wanted to get into the action. And I tried it out and realized, oh, it's quite fun, just learning about the sport, learning how to throw in the ball, how to kick the ball, and everything. And it just, I just got just so obsessed with the game, like every single day during lunch and then after school, just I just play football. Um, and yeah, my whole childhood was just in India. I was just playing football. And then I moved to Indonesia, played football, but football really became super competitive when I was in high school in France. I moved there for like 4 years, and that's when I started like joining like a club and school teams. I took it a lot more seriously, and that's when I had a coach who was actually devoted to like trying to improve me. Um, and that's when I had a first taste of like traveling with the team, traveling around different parts of Europe, and it was a good experience. Like first good taste of like whole like what football could, like the potential of like me with the football. And it sort of faded. Like I think like after my high school, my last year, I stopped thinking about like football too much, because I had to prepare for exams. After high school, and then I went to national service. Not even thinking about football. Like I sort of like gave it up until I went to national service, and I met someone named like Adam Swandi, and because like I guess like we connected because he also lived in France, and then we just like became like quite decent friends. And then he told me about the SC and like how I should try it. I'm like, okay, sure. And I think that like really like revived me with football. And yeah, I think I tried it out in the SC, tried it for Hougang, but you couldn't sign with you couldn't sign with like any team during NS. So I just trained with them. Trained with Hougang, tried Geylang, and actually at Geylang, I got rejected by Noor Ali um, over there. But yeah, I just kept It's a long story. Sorry. Sure. Yeah, but
No, it's a story. It's a
yeah,
story certainly worth telling. I mean, I was just listening in as you told me your passport must be filled with stamps, man. You started out in America, then you went to India and France, and then you came back for national service. And I never
yeah,
expected, I don't think any of the listeners would have expected Adam Swandi to feature in that story you just told us, right? So it's quite intriguing. And you talk about those clubs you played on with, and we've been through all these countries. You have yet to even tell
yeah.
us about Canada, which was your most recent adventure. What I love about it is you clearly have so much exposure in terms of living in different countries. Before we touch on what you learned from those experiences, perhaps you can tell me after national service, you went to Canada?
Yeah, so after national service, like I mean, I didn't play football too much, and then I had to go for university. I mean, I played recreationally, Sunday league, and I went to university in Canada because like why not? I mean, it was a nice place. Just all my friends, I had friends going there. I saw the city, Vancouver is beautiful, and it was a decent school. So like I was even thinking about, I was thinking about a football, but like school team. But I go there, university. Like my goal was to actually make it to the school team for football, but nothing much more. And the school team is actually, I realized when I go there, it's actually quite tough to get in. Like they do their scouting like 2 years before the
Hmm.
first year. So actually like it was like a journey to actually make it to the school team. And yeah, I just like, but for my first 2 years of like my university was 4 years. So first 2 years,
Hmm.
I just focused on school. Just focus on enjoying university, like just having a social life, going out, doing things. I mean, the typical uni life, just going, yeah, just going out.
You say that with a smile on your face. I'm sure you miss your uni life very much as you speak about it, right?
Yeah, I miss it. It was fun, I loved it so much. But yeah, and I was also playing a lot of football that time. And then I think I mixed around with like, yeah, like my best friends who they were as like obsessed with football like me, and then they wanted to make it a school team. So I think I just played football like almost every single day with them, just enjoying it. And then eventually I did make it to the school team in the third year of my university, but um, I wasn't getting any playing time. I stayed there for a few months and I just wasn't enjoying myself. So I decided to quit that. And then when I quit it, I soon realized, oh, I regret it a bit. I should have like stayed on for a bit. And that's when I told myself, oh, I'm going to try to become professional in Singapore. It was like a
Wow.
big jump. It was just like really weird, but I was like, yeah, it's like that regret sort of like made me think like, oh, maybe I could like try to like play professional in Singapore. So I just like for my third and fourth year, I just committed to like working as hard as I could, like recording myself and just like trying to improve myself. And I told myself I would go back to Singapore, try to make it professional. Yeah.
So all along in these various journeys you had throughout football, becoming pro was always a dream of yours. It's something you always wanted to achieve.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely. It was always a dream of mine. I mean, I think if you ask like anyone who knew me when I was a kid, I think whenever they ask like who do I want to be, it was always to become a professional footballer. Um, I was just like I loved it so much. I wanted to be a professional footballer, and I think it faded away like after high school. And then during university, the first 2 years and during NS, I wasn't really focused on becoming a professional, just focus on improving myself. Like it's just you just want to see how far you can go with the sport, and um, yeah, just trying to improve myself. And then from that third year onwards, I think that's when I was like, okay, I'll try to become a professional. Yeah.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
Now, Faisal, that's thoroughly fascinating to me. I want to touch on juggling sport as well as academics in a short while. But before that, because you mentioned playing or having a go at football in so many different places, right? How did you pit yourself against the likes of the French or the Canadians? Because there is this, I guess, stereotype that Asians or Singaporeans in general are not up to mark physically, if anything, compared to the Canadians or the Europeans, right?
Oh yeah, it's so I would say well in Canada, I would say I'll talk more about French football. Like I mean, it wasn't like I wasn't playing at the highest level, but what I realized is that it's a lot more physical, a lot more intense. There's a lot more running. Like it's yeah, it's just that everyone's just like a lot bigger, and like everyone's just like a lot more stamina. Like I would say like my biggest strength over here is like my stamina. But if I go to France, it's just like everyone is just fit. Everyone just like can run more. and everyone's just technical. So like in France, it's just like a whole package, you know, like everyone's just like better in every single aspect, you know. In Canada, I would say yeah, everyone's just like a lot more physical over there in general. But like yeah, France was like the biggest difference, you know, like everyone's just so good over there. And there's like so many different backgrounds, you know, from like different like it's like yeah, so many different kind of players over there. Yeah,
Mm,
so
mm.
mm.
Yeah, I can imagine the exposure you've had at relatively young age at 25 is quite immense. I'm not sure plenty of Singaporean footballers themselves have as much exposure as you. I mean, you may say it's not the highest level, but still exposure is exposure. Right now, I want to come back to juggling studies and football in Canada. You mentioned a couple of times there were times where you decided, no, I'm going to concentrate on my studies and put football to the side for a while, but essentially you were juggling both throughout your 4 year university. How did that go for you? Because as far as Singaporeans are concerned, it's mission impossible to try and do that, right?
I think it's possible, and I think like I mean a lot of people in SBL are like doing it, you know, like especially my team. Like a lot of people are studying at the same time. Not many people are working at the same time. I think I might be the only one, me and a few others, I think. I'm not too sure. But okay, like in terms of like juggling academics or work with football, I think you just gotta prioritize your time and like make sacrifices, you know? Like when I dedicated my time to becoming a professional, like I sacrificed my social life. Like I didn't want to go out. People were like going cliff diving or like skiing or like going out, and I would just reject and be like, no, I just wanted to play football and chill. Um, and you just got to prioritize your time, you know. Like for me, my priority was like football, work or studies, and that was pretty much all. Like very, yeah, I didn't really have like I had to sacrifice my social life a bit, but and I had to sacrifice my grades too. I
Mm.
think that took a big toll. Like when football became a priority. Like luckily, I studied like okay, and I got like okay grades in my first 2 years. But when I like spearheaded to like football, I think my grades just like took a toll. But
Mm.
that's fine. Yeah,
So, on the topic
yeah.
of juggling both, right? And we're talking about parents understanding their kid, allowing their kid to juggle both at least. Were your parents very supportive of your desire to go pro almost?
They were supportive of me playing football. And they loved that the fact that I play football. But they were quite. I mean, it's understandable. They were quite reluctant of me trying to become a professional footballer. It's like, yeah, because like they spend the money, you know, just to send me university. And when I tell them, oh, I want to become a professional footballer, like they just tell me, oh, you're out of your head. Like, yeah, it's yeah. So they were quite reluctant of me trying to become a professional and like maybe taking a gap. Like initially, I took a gap year just to try, but
Mm.
um, yeah. But eventually, I managed to convince them, and then they were like, oh, okay, yeah, just if you're gonna try it, try your best, you know. So eventually I won their approval just because they saw how hard I worked, you know. But yeah, they were always supportive of me playing football. Like they liked that I was chasing my passion.
Yeah, I can understand you must have convinced them with the passion you're displaying in speaking to us as well, right? Just for some perspective, are your parents, because you talk about traveling at a young age, I'm guessing that's to do with your parents and how they work. Are they fairly traditional that way, or are they quite open to allowing you as a child to explore as much as you can?
I think they're a bit they're quite traditional to be fair. Like they just want me to like my both my parents are engineers, so they really routed me to become an engineer. Like that's what they really wanted, even though like they said I'm free to do whatever I want, but then deep inside I know they wanted me to become an engineer. So I was like, okay, I'll just be an engineer.
Fair enough. As it
Yeah,
stands, you've achieved both, right? You've become an engineer by trade and you're pursuing your passion as it stands, right?
yeah, yeah. It
So I
works both
guess you
ways.
you you have them happy. You have yourself happy for now as well. Now I know I veered off the questions in terms of talking about your parents, but thanks for being game enough to
No,
answer
it's
those for us. And coming back to your footballing journey, making that debut for Geylang International quite recently, it wasn't all straightforward. It wasn't like you came back from Canada, you made a phone call and you were in the Geylang team. You had setbacks along the way. So talk to me about that journey about making the breakthrough with Geylang because it wasn't successful in 2022.
yeah. So it wasn't successful. Like so, like I think like it was really rocky. So it was a lot rockier than it seems, I think, because I actually came back around the summer of 2021. Um, like I had a contact told me to come back as soon as possible during COVID, and it was a big risk, like Vancouver, like Canada is like home to me. I didn't want to leave it, but like I wanted to try football, so I was like, okay, I'll come back. And I came back. I was told I could at least train with the team, but then when I came back, did my 3 week quarantine, the COVID restrictions got tighter, and then I couldn't train with any team. So for like half a year, I was just like stranded, like not being able to do anything. Yeah, and then I eventually like just like contacted as many people. Okay, eventually got trials, Tanjung Pagar. That didn't go well, and then with Geylang, I trialed with them, and I wasn't successful. Like they cut me, and then I was like, "Can I just train?" And then they were like, "We'll see." And then they're like, "Oh no, we can't." So okay, just let me know if there's any chance. Okay, and I contact them again. I come for train, and then they're like, okay, come again. I come, and then they're like, "Sorry, no COVID restrictions." So I was like, okay. But then I asked it, okay, just let me know. Like I was quite persistent, like I had nothing to lose. I felt like I came back to Singapore just for football, and I was willing to like annoy the coaches a bit, just to get a glimpse of football. Like at least like as a training dummy, at least get the exposure. And eventually Noor Ali, I think he saw that I really was keen on becoming a professional. So he was like, okay, just come for training. And then for a whole year, I was just training with the team. Um, just like trying to like learn as much as I can. And I think it was like I was happy with the experience because like I haven't got like a glimpse of like professional football in any way, and I think it was a good eye opener to see how people train, how people like doing it on a daily basis is like a different like it's different from like just playing. Like how to like I try to like talk to like others. Like I talk to like Abdul a lot. He taught me about like the mindset and everything. It's like how yeah, just seeing like what life was as like a professional footballer. It was quite eye opening, but it was a struggle. Yeah, just keep training for like no purpose. But yeah.
Yeah, the struggle seems to be quite real. And in terms of mental fortitude, you must have plenty of it to deal with that much of not rejection, but like closed doors and the persistence to come back and want it. I have tremendous respect for the amount of effort you put into turning pro, Faisal. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Now, you talked about not making it to the team in 2022. When that happened, did Noor Ali at all take you to the side and say, this is what you need to do better in terms of wanting to then try and make a breakthrough?
Not really. No, he didn't really tell me what I had to improve on. He just said, just be patient. Like he just said, your time will come. Because I think, to be honest, I think I had the qualities to at least be signed, but not be a starter or like maybe like just be on the bench. Like I think I definitely had the qualities to at least just like be able to train with the team. But it's just because like I was over 23, and I think that's just like another hurdle, like
Mm.
becoming professional and then being over 23 and trying. Because I don't think you would get the chance. It's very hard to get a chance when you're over 23. Because like of course like he's a man who wants to focus on like youth development and just like development of players in general, and you likely want to give it to younger players. And he told me that very straightforward, like, yeah, we have to give these young players a chance, and it'll be hard for you. And I was like, and I just told him if I can just train and just show I'm worthy, that's fine. And he was like, okay. But yeah, he just told me just keep trying and just be patient, because I think he liked that. I was like really hungry for the opportunity.
Wow, that's quite fascinating. We're, of course, speaking to Faisal Shahril from Geylang International, and he was just telling us about Coach Mohammad Noor Ali and the part he had to play in making Faisal turn pro. Now, we've heard Faisal's side of the story. Let's check in and hear what Mohammad Noor Ali has to say about the latest signing, that is Faisal Shahril.
Basically, Faisal came for trials last season with us earlier part lah, and he wanted to be in the squad, but at that point of time, I think I had the team already set up for the season. And what impressed me about Faisal is actually his character and attitude lah. I think he has that willingness to listen, and to learn, and you can see he never gives up. I think when he decide to actually when I decide to tell him that the team has already completed all the signing, he actually I think went for a few club trials. But he basically end up coming back to Geylang again. So I told him that, I don't mind you joining the training sessions, and actually I need numbers only at the start. But it was nice to see how he put in the effort throughout the whole year without having a contract lah. So, I think what impressed me is his character and attitude lah. So that's nice to see lah.
Yeah, coach, he touched on going for trials at the likes of Tanjong Pagar and Hougang, but unfortunately it didn't really work out. So eventually it worked out at Geylang International. You talk about making numbers, right? But in 2022, yes, your squad was set. By 2023, you decided to give him a chance. Did you tell him in 2022 what he needs to do better to try and get a better chance as he did in 2023?
No, the only thing I told him was if you are willing to put all this hard work, if you are willing to listen, you're willing to learn, the chance of you playing will be higher, because I told him that he's as good as any of the locals players out here because he's willing to work hard. The only thing I need to do is with him is coaching. If I able to coach him and give him more opportunities going out there to play with tougher opponents, and I still remember this when we were having a laugh of this when we went to Malaysia and he played against Penang or Kedah, I can't remember. So about 35 minutes into the game, he came on actually. So 35 minutes again, he just walked off the pitch. Then we all stand up and and ask him, Faisal, what happened? And then he has an accent, right? So he was like, Coach, I actually cramp up. That's it. What? Then he said, like, I cramp up, Coach. I was like, what? Then he's like, then I say, after the game, I told him, now you see the different level. Then he said, yeah, so but the next day he came back, he works harder, he put in a lot of effort, and it's easier to coach this kind of players, because they put everything into whatever you want to do, So I think that's why I decided, in 2022, actually, I told him, Faisal, I'm gonna sign you for next season. You cannot believe how happy he was, how thankful he was, and like he basically signed for Manchester United or but you really appreciate this kind of players. They're willing to put everything, even their body, on the line. So and he has improved so much. If you look at day one, he started with me, and it's nice to see that. Yeah.
Coach, you talk about the appreciation when you told him he was going to sign for Geylang International, right? You've given a few players that sense of appreciation. The likes of Shawal Anwar, Zikos Chua, all have you to thank for the careers they have today. What is it about unearthing talents like that? How are you so good at it?
Oh, I mean, that's why we are coaches. That's our job. And we can keep on blaming what the last 5 years, any of these players that you mentioned, what they have done, or the last 10 years, what they have done. Which coaches they are there with. I think that doesn't bother me. Every players will go through a lot of coaches. When they come to me, that's my responsibility to make sure that I can bring the best out of them. And every player has their own strength. I think the players that you mentioned, I mean, if there's a few more I can mention, but the thing is, I think at the end of the day, it's them. For me, that's my job as a coach. My job is to bring the best out of them, is to develop them. So I cannot look at what they have done the last 5 or 10 years. I have to look at now, how can I help them to improve? And it's always satisfying with when I look at example. I mean, the most successful one I have is Shawar. That's so satisfying looking at him right now. Playing at a big club, earning good money. Living a very good life. And a very humble man. And still stays on the ground. I think, as a coach, you look at that and you say that, I'm happy to be part of his journey. So that's one of them. I mean, you never know Faisal might be one of them. So that's nice. That's nice to see. But again, it's up to them. It's actually down to them. I'm as a coach, I only can help them and guide them. That's all.
Humble as always, coach. I have to ask you this though, in terms of your recruitment, right? Do you think because you're at Geylang International and considering the constraints that come along with it, you are forced to almost be a bit creative with your identifying of players?
Definitely, but I think that's a good challenge for me as a coach. It's also part of me learning. It's a learning process for me, because it's always easy to go out there and coach the best team in the league and win the title, but it's harder to get these things done and moving, and it challenges me as a coach. How can I coach better with these boys, with this team, to be more creative in terms of the way I want to coach and do things tactically, and try to improve them individually, So I'm happy to see a very good example this season. I mean, it's still early in the season, 5 games, but I'm happy to see what Akmal and Afwal has done throughout the last 5 games, and to be honest, I mean, I signed them because basically I see something in them. I think something that I can work with them, but I'm surprised that when they came to me, I was like, oh, these two boys is actually good players, It's whether you coach them and you tell them what you need to do and work on their strengths and certain things that they need to do. And hopefully they can sustain this kind of performance throughout the season, and that'll be good for the team.
In a short while, we're going to hear from Faisal as he tells us the Noor Ali secret touch. So stay tuned for that. But coach, my final question to you is: you talk about winning trophies, you talk about finishing higher up, top the table, but there must be immense satisfaction in what you're doing as well, giving boys like Faisal a chance.
Oh, nothing beats this. You even you win the league title. If it can be one of the most satisfying thing as a coach, or the best achievement as a coach. But for me, the day I came back from Japan until today, I think I'm happy to see I'm part of changing some players' life to be better. I've seen how Shawar struggled from the start before he go into a football career, and see where is he right now, and I've seen some players going through injury. I mean, there's nothing to hide. I've seen Amy not at his best. Amy Reka, not at his best, not playing his best football, came here to play his best football. Now he's in a good club with good salary and everything. I'm happy to see that. I'm happy to see Zainul, once he was not even considered one of the best goalkeepers in the league, and now he's, they call him the what? The Kalang Raw, or the Kalang goalkeeper, whatever it
The
is,
king of Kalang.
the king of Kalang, and I'm happy to see that. And I'm happy to see these players are successful right now, So it's always nice to be part of their journey. I might not be responsible for all this, but, I'm happy to be part of their journey, So I think that's the best satisfaction when you think that, you have been part of that journey with them, and you have actually helped them to change their life, to be better person, to be better player, So one day they might, learn this, and even throughout to one day they become a coach, or they go outside something else. They learn this part that, is the satisfaction of changing someone's life. I think that's the most important thing, lah. Yeah.
All right, there we have it. Coach Mohammad Noor Ali, never one to mince his words, telling us all about why he gave Faisal Shahril a chance. Now, Faisal isn't the only one. He's given a few others as well. Back to you, Faisal. How big a part did Noor Ali then play in developing you and giving you that confidence to make your debut quite recently?
Yeah, like honestly, he's massive. Like he's like a coach who, like I really look up to. Just like I really like what you call it, like he really spends a lot of time with his players, and he really tries to like instill that belief in them. Like he will really emphasize on like let's say for me, he will always emphasize my strengths and to play to my strengths, and that's just to run for me. But in general, like I just like I can't be thankful for him for giving me the opportunity. I guess like I was really persistent, but for him it was so easy for him to just ignore me. Like I'll say like the other coaches, like I try to get to, like they just ignore me, and I completely understand, like that's part of the game. But he was willing to like even like just give me a reply, even when I gave him like he's like, oh, like just let me know if you give me a chance, and he was willing to give me a reply saying at least tell me no. But he said he was willing to give me a chance like later on in the future, or yeah, I just kept being persistent, and I just liked how like he was just responsive no matter what, and he was willing to give me a shot. I think he was always willing, but just COVID restrictions, just and the fact that he has to put younger players over me. But I think he just liked that I was just really hungry, and I just like commend him for like giving me that that bit of hope and that bit of that stepping stone, just to be able to train with the team, to take that risk, especially during COVID when like it's a risk to like bring someone random into a team, like they could potentially like spread the virus. And yeah, I just commend him and like the coaching staff and Geylang. Yeah.
It's good to know. I mean, Noor Ali has a knack for doing this. Like I mentioned earlier, he's unearthed the likes of Shawal Anwar, Zikos Chua more recently. More on that later. Let's continue the conversation with Faisal. Now, Faisal, you touched on it there. Noor Ali playing a big part as well as the Geylang backroom staff. And then earlier, you touched on Adam Swandi pushing you in the direction of the local football league. Any other figures along the way that have molded you into the footballer that you are or the person that you are now?
Yeah, I mean, okay, like there have been a few, but in terms of like my holistic development as a player, I would have to give props to like my high school coach. Like he really like brought a lot of like passion. Like he really like drove that passion into me. He really developed me in terms of a player. Like he was a player of like great reputation. Played for like he played in France, played in like the Togo national team, and like he talked to us about like his experience, and that really gave me like like how exciting it could be. And he always like emphasize on like playing with like a lot of hunger. And he reminds me a bit of like Coach No. That's why I really like Coach No, because their way of coaching is very similar, very hard on the players, but very very understanding and like sort of very loving to the players. So like he really he just instilled that passion, and he really molded me as a player, because I think as a player, like honestly, I just run and I'm just very aggressive, and he tried to like really define that in me. So yeah, I really commend like my high school coach for that. And then when decided to go on like my professional like sort of journey, I think I have to give props to Harris and Ryan Stewart, because they're like family friends, and they were like that. They opened the door, but they just gave me all the contacts. They were like one of the first few people I talked to about like how to get in. So they gave me all the contacts, and like they just told me like how football is over here and like what I should expect, and then that's where I met like Robert Iziakor from Haugang.
Mm.
I just contacted him, and he was like, okay, come to train with me at like Bukit Gombak. And I went all the way there just to like show him like what I was capable of, and he liked me, and he was really trying so hard to just get me a trial. He got me like the trial at Tanjong, and like he tried to like guide me to like what I should be doing. And then like honestly, the biggest figure is do you know like the edge of the box
Mm.
mentoring? Yeah, so Rory, like he like I couldn't like he's super like he was so helpful for like my development in terms of like mindset. And like he opened the doors to like me meeting so many people, because the mentoring program is built like a club where like you meet so many people. So he introduced me to all like Dell, Iggy, a lot of players like within the like a lot of experienced players. He introduced me to like maybe talk to them, see, and they all helped me. So like yeah, Rory, he also taught me like mindset too, but like how to like get back up from like making a mistake, or how to like really like how to play with more confidence. And like he's really helped me a lot. So yeah, I have to give props to him. But yeah.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's forgotten, that mental aspect of things, right? And edge of the box mentoring has been mentioned by more than one player, I think, in the fraternity. So props to them for everything they've done for the game as well. Faisal, I'd like to talk about Geylang International and the squad they have this season. You're obviously part of the dressing room now, and you're one of the key members of that team as well. What's it like in the dressing room? Because Geylang have made a fairly good start to the season.
Yeah, I love the team, honestly. The team is like there's an amazing camaraderie behind it, where I feel like we're all like it's like everyone knows it's quite a young squad and all, but just yeah, everyone's just like quite like closely knit. And like it's my first year, and it's not like I'm an 18-year-old, I'm 25, but they're all like everyone from like different ages to everyone like the old, even the young players are like who are more experienced in the game and in the league. They're like guiding me, and they're so like everyone's just so welcoming, and everyone's just like very better, like just like like just but like it's like it every single player like has like tried to like guide me in some sort of aspect, like even Joshua, like the captain, he's a great captain. And like even like players in my position, like you think like they're competing with me, but like they want to help me, like Fad, Akmal, like and everyone else. Everyone's just so supportive of each other. Like I can see like the cohesion within the team like just growing as the season grows. it's a nice squad to be in, you know.
Faisal, I have to ask at this point, you spent a fair few years in Canada as well as away from Singapore. So that brother aspect that you spoke about, right? Does it take a while to get used to the Singaporean culture almost? You know what I mean? Like to rub off the cobwebs and become one of the brothers?
Yeah, because like when I was like, I mean, I've never really lived in Singapore. So it was hard to when I first came unsigned. It was hard to like mix around because like people wouldn't really understand because of my accent.
Fair.
So I get yeah. It was hard to like mix around, but I think eventually I just started growing into the Singaporean culture, and I think this year, I guess just getting used to like the slang and how people talk, and yeah, slowly just getting more immersed into it. But yeah, I'm getting used to the culture. Yeah, the better culture. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just give it a bit of time. By the end of the season, you should be up to speed with the Singaporean culture as much as possible. Let's talk about Geylang and the squad they have, right? You touched on it earlier. The camaraderie seems really good, and they've had a good start to the season as well. What is the secret behind it? What is it that gets Geylang International, with all due respect, one of the, I dare say, lesser squads in the league, punching well above their weight?
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess yeah, we're punching out of like well beyond like our expectations, you know. But I think it all has to do with the fact that we were a young squad, and then people say we had no budget, and our results in preseason when we went to Malaysia, I think we just got whacked in like all of our games, you know.
Hmm.
And I think that result really, I don't think it reflects too well on our capability within the SPL because like these Malaysian teams, I think they're another level, to be fair. Like it's hard to compete with them. The fact that we go there and then they can have like another XI to play with. So in the second half they just put a whole different 11 and they just have fresh legs, so it's tough, you know. And then like they have like 3 to 4 times more spending power. So I think those results weren't really reflective of our capabilities. And um yeah, I mean I was also a bit worried about like how the season would pan out, but especially with like such a young squad. But I think that Malaysia trip really like made us like a lot more like cohesive. I think we like got
Hmm.
to know each other a lot better, and just like I think yeah the cohesion. Now it just feels like the team really feels very cohesive. You know, the morale is quite high. Even though we lost like 2 games in a row, like our morale was still like we didn't let that affect us, and then we just bounced back up. Um, and yeah, I think like especially with the signings of like Dell, Shafiq and like Amirul Ali, then I think yeah now we're doing like quite well. I think they're really great except like additions into the team.
Yeah, they have been fairly late additions to the team, but to your point, seem like quality additions, right? And I'm excited for the Geylang fans who will be looking forward to what Geylang can build on for the rest of the season. We talked about it there in terms of the Malaysian teams, their budget, their squad size. Noor Ali does not have the biggest budget, does not have the biggest squad size. Yet last season finished in the top four and continues to mold his Geylang team, to your point, in his desire, right? In terms of the fighting spirit, in terms of going out and giving everything they got. Do you think your coach gets the credit he deserves in the local fraternity?
I think he really deserves so much more credit. The fact that he can do so much with so little, like really um like even last year, it's just a testament to like how good of a coach he is. The fact that he can bring a team which is like basically doing so bad, like losing almost every game, to like really pushing up to fourth. You know that's a huge like achievement itself. I think um if they kept that momentum from the beginning, honestly, could compete with like just winning the league. But yeah, he really deserves so much more credit just in terms of the way he manages the team. Um, yeah, he's just done such. I have no clue, to be honest. I have no clue how he did it. Um, I honestly thought like last year, like oh, like it's gonna be tough, you know, just surviving. But he managed to do it. He did something. I'm not too sure, to be honest. But yeah.
I guess that's why they pay Noor Ali the big bucks or not. But he clearly deserves a lot of credit for what he did last season, especially. And it's good to know someone within the dressing room thinks highly of him. I'm sure he'll be happy to hear that. Faisal, I'd like to continue the conversation about you, right? We've spoken a lot about Geylang, we've spoken about your journey. But just very quickly, before I ask you about your positional play, I want to ask you, do you have a local team at all? You can't say Geylang. Or you can if they're really your team.
No, I don't really have a local. I don't really follow local football. I think
Okay.
I like kept tabs on it. Wait, do I? No, I can't say like. No, I never really follow. I never really supported the S League. Yeah,
Okay.
it would have been a fairy tale if I supported Geylang, yeah, but
Yeah, it would have been.
no.
That was your chance to create the fairy tale, but you clearly no, I'm kidding. But I understand if you
Yeah.
don't have a team, that's completely fine as well. But we talk about
Mm.
you wanting to make it pro, right? I'm just very intrigued to find out. You talked about having a trial at Tanjong Pagar before eventually ending up at Geylang. Why didn't it work out at Tanjong Pagar, may I ask?
Well, what didn't work out? I think they only had like one or two slots, and
Hmm.
they were just looking for players who were more experienced than me. And I think like the coach, like Noam Shah, Coach Along, he's an amazing coach. Like he's also like an amazing coach with like players and all. And like I think everyone respects him because of the player he was. And he was very like candid with me in terms of like telling me like why. He said I was at the level like to not like yeah, just to like get into the team, but just being over 23, you know, he just needed a bit more experience. And I respected that, you know. Um, but yeah, I think it was hard when I was going to Tanjung because that's when I just came back from like a back injury, just going in
Hmm.
fresh, and then I had to travel from like Pasir Ris to Jurong, this 2 hour commute every morning. So like I was doing an internship and I quit that just to travel with
Wow.
Tanjung, and then
Hmm.
yeah, 2 hours there, 2 hours back, and just that was just it was rough, you know, but yeah, yeah, I was
Fair
just
enough.
still like quite.
Not for the
No,
lack of
sorry.
trying, I guess, in terms of quitting a internship just to give it a go. But here you are at Geylang International, and we understand you played at wingback on your debut as well. I'm keen to find out: is that your natural position? Is that where you feel most comfortable at, or with everything you've said, was it just a matter of getting yourself into the team?
No, it actually is a position which it's hard to say like someone's naturally a wing back because like people either play right mid or right back, you know. But honestly, right wing back like it suits me so perfectly, you know. Because I think I mean I started as a striker, like anyone, and then I went down to right mid, and I played a lot. Most of my like football as a right mid or left mid winger, just a typical like cut and shoot. And eventually, I think like when I was in Canada, I got pushed back to right back. I don't think I was good enough as a wing. And then and eventually I got pushed into like a wing back position, just played around with that. And I got quite a lot of exposure with the wing back. And I think it just defines the type of player I am. I think it's
Hmm.
just like it's a lot of running. It's just a very supporting role, just get in there, you cross, and I think that defines my game, you know, just a lot of running, aggression, just working for the team.
Yeah, you talk about no one really being a wing back, right? I think football has evolved slightly that in the next generation there might be plenty of wing backs as well. And wingers like you converted as wing backs add that attacking element to it. Now that you've made your Singapore Premier League debut, what else do you hope to achieve in the local game, Faisal?
I'm not trying to set too much of an expectation because I have no clue how this will pan out. Like the squad is so deep that like there's a lot of competition. Like I don't think I'll put the expectation of like how many goals or assists, you know. I'm just focused on like doing well with the team this season, not really focused on like what's happening the next 2 3 years. I'm just hoping like just to make it to like the top one of the top teams and just get as many minutes as I can possibly, but ultimately just to help the team. And um, yeah, it's just I'm honestly just taking it game by game. Like I'm just focused on that because I think I just want to add too much pressure. You know, just really we just want to play as well as I can, as much as possible.
Yeah, answered like a true footballer, taking it one game at a time. But dream with me for a little. Do you hope of perhaps playing for the national team one day, if that at all is a remote possibility?
I mean that's well in my dreams. You know, I don't think that's in my like. of course I would love to, but I have to be realistic, especially with my age. I don't think I don't want to think about that, but yeah, I don't think that's a possibility. But if I could, I would, but doubt it, really. We'd have to be very,
For,
very
for,
realistic about that.
for your sake, I hope one day you come back to this podcast, listen to this part, and be proven wrong, right? Because it'll be a wonderful story. You've broken so many barriers to get to where you are today through sheer persistence as well as the willpower to get it. And Faisal, I hope you achieve many, many more great things in your career. Just before I let you go, you're someone new to local football in that sense, where you've just made your professional debut. What are your thoughts about the landscape of Singapore football with the knowledge of being exposed to the likes of Canada as well as France?
Honestly, I feel like Singapore have like a really good football culture. Like not many people say that. Not okay. Okay, culture in terms of like loving football, you know, like I think everyone just loves football here, and um, but in terms of like playing football, the development, I think that has to improve a lot just from a younger age in terms of like professional development, sending players like I don't know, I think you just gotta like send more players overseas. I think players like you know Singapore is a place where like you have to think about money, and I wish that the FES could support the players more in terms of like supporting their dreams, like not make people think about money because um, I just feel like players like they're dropping out of the game just because of like finances and life, and fair enough, you know, that's normal. Like that's normal. Like within like you'll see that overseas anywhere, you know, in the US and all, people drop out at a young age. But I think for what can improve, you know, it's just like having better exposure to like having players like overseas more, you know. I think they should really invest in that. And just in terms of like I think one thing I really like always thought was I think making fields free, you know. I think having like I think that really ignites that passion, just having players just obsessed with the game, you know, just um allowing kids to just like play whenever they want without thinking about finances, because now okay, there's street football, which is not bad, but like in terms of like having like a free artificial field just
Mm.
for like kids not to think about like, oh, I have to pay to play on this turf field. I think that will help a lot, you know. Because I see overseas in France, I think that was one of the biggest difference, you know, the fact that you could have like free fields, or in Canada too, like free fields and people would just play. And I think just igniting that like that passion and just thinking about football, you know. Yeah, I think that's important.
Those are some absolutely valid suggestions which will help grow the local game, right? Faisal Shahril, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you on the Final Whistle pitch side. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much for having me. Been a
And
pleasure.
listeners, I hope you've enjoyed Faisal's conversation. His inspiring story to the very top of the Singapore Premier League. Do continue to support the Final Whistle. Keep the conversation going on Telegram and like us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We'll see you on the next episode.